Welcome to today's webinar hosted by EnlivenHealth. Our topic today is Sense and Sensibility, Optimizing Revenue and Reducing Errors with Pharmacy Claims Reconciliation. Thank you for joining us today. Before we get started, I'd like to highlight a few housekeeping items. Please type your questions in the Q&A tab to ask questions throughout the presentation. We'll be sure to answer your questions during the dedicated Q&A session towards the end of our time together. Lastly, we are recording this webinar and will email the recording to all attendees. And now I'm delighted to introduce our presenters. Lindsey Daniel is the Senior Manager of Reconciliation at EnlivenHealth. Before she was named Senior Manager in 2020, Lindsey was the Manager of Medical Billing and the Reconciliation Product Owner, where she opened the lines of communication between customers and EnlivenHealth. Lindsey has over 9 years in the pharmacy sector and an MBA in strategic management. She understands the function of designing and innovating a reconciliation solution to support retail pharmacies. Chelsea Anderson is a registered pharmacy technician and the Chief Financial Officer at Tyson Drugs in Holly Springs, Mississippi. Chelsea joined Tyson Drugs in 2010 when Tyson's owner, Bob Lomanek, was introducing medication synchronization to the pharmacy industry. After overseeing the MedSync pharmacy for 3 years, she moved into managing the financials for all of their locations. Today, she continues to manage the financials, co-host Max MySync weekly webinars through CPESN USA, and works alongside the COO integrating enhanced services into the workflow of an independent community pharmacy. Kendell Harris is a certified public accountant and an in-charge accountant for Sykes & Company. He's responsible for reviewing monthly financial statements and sales tax returns. With a strong focus on independent pharmacies, he assists with all aspects of accounting so pharmacy owners can focus on their customers and other aspects of their business. Without further delay, I'll pass it over to our webinar host, Lindsey Daniel.
Thank you so much for that introduction, Nikki, and thank you, Chelsea and Kendell, for joining us today. Just to go through our agenda real quick, we've done our introductions. I'm going to allow Kendell to introduce Sykes & Company, and then Chelsea to introduce Tyson Drugs. And then we're just going to talk a little bit about what is pharmacy claims reconciliation, the importance of claim reconciliation, and then have a live Q&A at the end. So with that, I will introduce EnlivenHealth. So EnlivenHealth is transforming the business and practice of pharmacy, empowering pharmacists to keep their patients healthy and their businesses thriving through the delivery of innovative software products and services, including clinical, engagement, analytics, and then the subject of today's webinar are financial solutions. So that's EnlivenHealth, and I'll hand it over to Kendell to discuss Sykes & Company.
Yeah, thank you. We're very excited to be here with EnlivenHealth. So with Sykes & Company, and you see the photo, it's a building in Edenton, North Carolina. I'm actually in Edenton today, so the iconic brick building. But we have accountants really all over the world. We have all over the United States. I live in Wilmington, North Carolina, and it's about 40 plus accountants, and we serve and focus on independent pharmacies. So we basically try to take care of all their back office needs so that they can care for their patients, their clients, their staff, and focus on other aspects of the business. So we try to be extremely responsive, work with great vendors, such as EnlivenHealth, to just bring a very proactive approach to independent pharmacies to help them thrive.
Thanks, Kendell. And I love the relationship that Sykes & Company and EnlivenHealth have. And we have one of our mutual clients on today. So Chelsea with Tyson Drug.
Yes, thank you. And just like Kendell, I'm so excited to be with you guys today and share a little bit about our pharmacy and the relationship that we have with EnlivenHealth. We are a locally owned and operated retail pharmacy chain in northern Mississippi. We're actually in Holly Springs, Mississippi. If you're not familiar with that, I always tell everybody we're just 45 minutes south of Memphis because everybody knows where Memphis is. We have a rich history in our town. Our building actually dates back to the Civil War era. So back in the 1800s, we still have a bullet chip from the Civil War on the column right outside of our front doors. And it's pretty fun to show that to tourists when they come around. Over the years, we've grown the operation to 3 retail pharmacies and 1 long-term care pharmacy. We fill an aggregate of around 35,000 scripts per month, some of those being medical billing claims that EnlivenHealth actually processes on our behalf. And we offer an array of services from MedSync to delivery, compliance packaging, a whole line of immunizations and clinical services such as RPM, CCM, and your wellness visits.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Chelsea. And again, thank you both for being here today. So just moving right along into the discussion for today. So what is pharmacy claims reconciliation? Pharmacy claims reconciliation is a necessary process for operating pharmacies. And this process, at its base, you match the amount that your pharmacy is supposed to be paid for a medication, which is known as the point of sale adjudication or the promise to pay amount. And you match that to the amount that you actually receive from the payer. So in short, you're making sure you're getting reimbursed properly and that you aren't being shorted due to a payer error or an oversight. So when you reconcile your pharmacy claims, you're making sure that the money you think you're getting is the money that you're actually getting. And that's important. It's hard to make decisions for your business when you don't know how much money you're going to have in the bank. And then also come tax time, it's best to pay taxes on money that you actually received rather than the money that you think that you've received. So since 95% of your prescription revenue comes in the form of reimbursements from third-party payers, it's important to know where your money is going. And that's why you need to have pharmacy reconciliation. I think one thing that we've joked about in the past is if you're not reconciling, you're just using that fill and pray method of, the medicine's walking out my door and I'm just going to pray that I get paid. That's something that Sykes and Company and we've joked about in the past and is just an important part of pharmacy reconciliation.
Yeah, definitely. And it's just like a bank account. Nobody would go without having their bank account reconciled. If an accountant went and didn't reconcile your bank account, at least at the end of the year or end of the month, they'd be fired. But yet the claims that are outstanding sometimes is worth more than what's in your bank at the time. So how much more so important would it be to make sure that that's reconciled also? So you really can't overemphasize the importance of this whole process.
Yeah, definitely. I couldn't agree more. So how do you reconcile claims? It's your money. You owe it to yourself and to the future of your business to get involved. So while mistakes in the reimbursement process aren't necessarily common, they do happen. And when they happen, you don't want to be the one who suffers, and you don't have to be. So to reconcile claims, you just need to collect your 835s or electronic or paper remittances from payers, and then compare that payment to your claims that you billed out. So is it what you expected? If not, what's different and how much is different? When you reconcile your claims, don't be surprised if you feel the need to put on your detective hat. So when you're managing your claims, you also want to be sure that you're reconciling it to the claim level and not just the aggregate payment level. So to ensure that you're reimbursed correctly for each claim, knowing that you're missing a certain amount from a specific payer is a great place to start. But you can't pinpoint the specific claim, or any correction to that shortage would likely take longer. So what generally can't be delayed is the bills that you need to pay with those reimbursements. So when it comes to your revenue, this isn't the time to play nice. It's not the time to be polite, wait for the payer to notice their mistake. Just make sure that you're getting what you're owed. No one else is going to be checking up on the claims for you unless you're signing up for a reconciliation service like what EnlivenHealth has to offer. So with our reconciliation service, you could have an analyst, even a team of analysts that take the claims reconciliation completely off your hands. They reconcile payments down to the claim level, investigate short payments, chase down late payments or missing payments on your behalf, allowing you to focus more of your time on serving your patients. So with that, Kendell or Chelsea, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and add that. I mean, I love the relationship that we have with EnlivenHealth. And, I love that you said detective hat, because I don't have to put that detective hat on anymore now that I have you guys. Our rep, Cheryl, she's absolutely amazing. We keep a great communication between each other as far as all the aging claims that, from column to column, and just work hand in hand with each other. And she does the detective work for me. She reaches out to those payers over and over again when something hasn't been paid, and she's blowing up their email boxes and their voicemail boxes wondering, where's Tyson's money at? They still haven't received it yet.
Yeah, Cheryl, she's on my team. She's one of our lead reconciliation analysts. So she is doing that legwork and staying in communication with you. And then Cheryl actually has a team working under her that's doing kind of all the back end. So, using our recon service, you're not just getting Cheryl or analysts like Cheryl, you're getting a whole team supporting you so you can, again, focus on your patients.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, this slide, I'll leave it for you guys because I don't get into the reconciliation at the claim level. But when there's issues, I see it and I agree. Get on that detective hat. And if you have a resource like Enliven, those issues I noticed over time get cleared up once you're actually paying attention to it and on top of it. So I don't know exactly how to do it, but I know it's very important. And I know that it gets done when you have people like Chelsea and your group working on it.
Thank you. So moving right along, the importance of reconciliation. So a panel discussion. We have a few questions that we're just kind of going to talk through as a group, and at the end come together with questions from the audience as well. So our first question that we have is, how does regular claims reconciliation contribute to the success of a pharmacy?
I can jump in there a little bit. One thing is that with the pharmacies, because of the claims that's being outstanding, such a large number, such a large percentage of your revenue, that on an accrual basis, financial statements, which takes into consideration the money that's owed to you, the only way to be able to tell month over month where you're standing, whether you're profitable or not, if you're just looking at the cash balance, well, could be your payables going up and down, your receivables, your inventory. So the cash balance isn't an indication of the health of your pharmacy, but having accrual base, which includes a reconciliation of third-party receivables in there, is the only way you're going to know how you're actually performing. So from a decision-making standpoint, it's like if you don't have that, you don't have accrual, and if you don't know how you're performing, how do you make any decisions on the future of your pharmacy, good or bad or indifferent, if your financial statements don't have integrity? So from my standpoint, from the accountant, the CPA looking at it, a lot of the times, even let's assume you're getting paid for everything, but you just don't know what it is you are owed. Decisions can be made a lot more proactively if that reconciliation number is a true number, a month over month, you know what it is.
Absolutely. I think just another key point of, making sure that you do those regular claim reconciliations and how it contributes to the success of the pharmacy is you're able, like Kendell said, you're able to see those unpaid claims faster. You're not, going several months down the road and figuring out, okay, why is my cash flow short? And then having to track back and figure out which claims, were paid and which claims weren't.
Yeah, I think both great points, doing the, claims reconciliation and staying on top of it. And I think, you kind of both made a great point. Like you might be receiving all of your payments. How do you know for sure? But I think a good reconciliation goes beyond that as well, to where you're not just looking claim by claim, but you're looking at DIR fees that are being assessed and making sure that you're tracking that, because just because a claim adjudicated for a certain amount, you probably got paid that amount, but then retroactively was there a DIR fee assessed that maybe you're not tracking? Are you expecting to receive more money than you actually are because those fees are being taken back later? So having that type of reporting available for that visibility is also going to contribute to the success of your pharmacy.
Yeah, and I think, and we all spoke to the assumption that you're receiving everything, right? And with some of the deposits being very large in nature, even if I felt comfortable that 90% of my claims I'm getting paid for, I would be up at night just hoping that 10% wasn't the big one for the month that I was waiting on,
Yeah.
So if you're just feeling and praying, and even if it's just 10%, or even if it's just one big check a month that you're missing out on that you should have gotten, that's, with the margins the way they are and with DIR fees the way they are, that could be a big difference between you showing a profit or a loss, or making decisions to hire more, or letting someone go. Those are big decisions. And it could be not because of the performance of your pharmacy. You're just not getting paid what you're owed. So, outside of the assumption that you're getting paid, you can't assume that. We see it all the times where there's something missing. It might not be a lot of transactions, but the dollar amount could be high, or that one thing missing can really, change the future of your pharmacy and your decisions you're making.
Yeah, you brought up DIR fees. Make sure you get a company like EnlivenHealth that actually tracks those DIR fees. The previous company we was with didn't even track them. I had to track them myself. So it was very, very difficult.
Yeah, I can imagine. That seems like a lot of manual work to have to.
Oh, yes.
That's crazy. But yeah, all great points there. So just moving on to our next question. This one will be directed at Chelsea. How do you get started? What's the first step in the process?
So yeah, we, as I said, we've been with a couple different previous reconciliation companies, and I wasn't really satisfied with them. Like I said, we had one company, the previous one we was with, that didn't even track DIR fees, and it was right when DIR fees were really hitting the pharmacy market, and we knew we had to figure out what was going on. So we had that critical conversation, that financial conversation with our accountants, Katie and Allen there at Sykes, and we just knew something had to change. We knew that we were missing. We had a lot of unpaid claims. We were missing funds. The company was hard to deal with. So I just began the search for a new company after having a discovery call with probably 3 or 4 other companies. We discovered and concluded that EnlivenHealth was the best one for us. They offered a very proactive approach to billing and to reconciliation, and the portal was very user-friendly, which was great for not only us, but for our accountants as well.
Awesome. And then, yeah, like as far as the first step in the process for us, right, once you enroll with EnlivenHealth, it's working with our onboarding team, getting the contracts in, sending or logging into payer sites to direct your 835 files to us, and then also setting up a data feed either from your pharmacy system, depending on the system, or your switch for us to get that data, and then our system just kind of does the rest from there.
So I know it may sound and seem kind of taxing at first, but I promise you, once you get over that hurdle of getting all those paperworks filled out and your EFTs and your 835s are set up, it's smooth sailing from there.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say like the first 30 to 60 days getting that paperwork in, and then dealing with the different payers, it can be a lot. And but again, like you said, once you get through that, the system takes care of it, and then you're working with the team here to do all of the heavy lifting after that. So awesome. So our next question: what tools can you use to make the reconciliation process more efficient?
Yeah, so I'll go ahead and start off there. I think reconciling regularly, not waiting too long, making sure that you reconciling multiple times a week. I know I have it on my calendar that I do it at least twice a week, sometimes 3 times a week, because we have, at different times of the month, you have more checks that hit than other times. So you want to stay on top of that. And the portal, like I said a while ago, is so user friendly. There's a deposit screen, and it has all of your deposits listed, and you just go down through there and check them and say, yes, I received these. And I'm not sure how the background works, but I know that I check it off. I received it, and EnlivenHealth does the rest. I think another tool would be, like I said, keeping a close relationship with our rep. She and the team there, they are just really great at things. Uploading any paper remittances, making sure that I'm doing my part here at the pharmacy to make y'all's job easier too, and y'all are not having to email me and be like, okay, did you receive this remittances? Because we do know that there are some payers that you just aren't able to set up that 835 file or the EFT with them. So anything that I receive here, I make sure I do my due diligence and send it over to the team there. And again, a great tool would be just making sure that all EFT and 835 files that can be done through the payer all that paperwork is filled out and completed.
Yeah, and so I think Chelsea, like you said, just to kind of reemphasize and just tell you I agree, is whatever you can get done to make it automated. So if it's a paperwork or something you got to send in on the front end, it's going to be well worth your time. That way you're not getting checks in the mail and fumbling through that. And then if you get all your checks, then you have to take time to physically go in and check those off for the payer. So any payer, will definitely work closely with your analyst to make sure that you can get that automated if possible. And another thing you said from an accountant standpoint, if you're reconciling anything, a checkbook or anything, it's always easier when you do it regularly. So my understanding is the system of Enliven is going to take a large portion of the load off of you that you do not have to do manually. But there might be a very small task that you are responsible to do, and just do it regularly. Because if one thing is sticking out, you can check it off or figure it out very quickly. But if it turns into 5 things, it's hard to reconcile what's causing the ebb and flow. So as far as efficient, if you do it regularly, you're going to end up in totality saving so much more time than waiting and doing it every once in a while. And then utilizing the reports, like there's an aging receivable report. That's one that we use all the time to see what's outstanding over a certain amount of days. And you can easily see, okay, this is where I need to focus my time on. If it's outstanding, is it really outstanding? What's going on? So that's something that can make it more efficient. And you mentioned the DIR reports and things of that nature. It's so important. Your biggest costs as a pharmacy is going to be your cost of goods sold, your wages, and now third is your DIR fees and things of that nature. So whatever you can do to look at those reports and be able to identify what's going on there too. Those are all going to be the things that you can use within the system to help the reconciliation process go more smoothly.
Yeah, definitely. I think just to echo the sentiments, both Chelsea and Kendell, leveraging your analyst at EnlivenHealth, I think it's important to call out that we do have a self-service model where you can leverage our technology. If you have someone on staff that can perform that reconciliation for you, you can leverage our technology. So it's still automated. You still get the benefits of, having things coming in electronically and then just using our tools to do that. The difference with the full service model is you just don't have that analyst here that's doing all that legwork for you. So our analyst, our full service model, leverage them. We have the whole team that's here that's, talking to these PBMs for you. You're not having to sit on hold for 30 minutes, while you could be doing other things. We're doing that process for you. And then definitely the reports, like Kendell mentioned, the DIRs, being on top of that, just all important things to be in the know of while your team here at EnlivenHealth is doing that legwork for you. So great points there. Thank you. So next question, what is one thing that pharmacies should focus on when reconciling claims that most aren't?
So I think, again, I know we just talked about DR fees, but I think that's a great example of one thing that pharmacies should be focusing on, because we do know it is changing, ever changing. And like I said earlier, I had a reconciliation company that didn't track it for us. So that tells me that those customers, they're probably not tracking it either currently. And I had to track it. I had to figure out and reach out to those payers and be like, what's your code for DR fee on your remittances, and keep that and go remittance by remittance and track that information per check. And I'm very grateful. It's another, like we just said, it's a tool that EnlivenHealth has for us, that amongst other reporting tools that they offer, that I just go and click a button and it tells me all of my pharmacies and how much my DR fee was for each payer for each check. It is there. Saves me so much time. And again, I think that is one thing that pharmacies should focus on that they're probably not.
Yeah, I think you had an important call out there that it is ever changing, and it is changing. In 2024, we are going to see more changes to DIR and how it's assessed. So, it'll start to be assessed at the point of sale as opposed to retroactively. So it's important now to have a company or just a process for tracking them, because there's going to be kind of that lapse in the first quarter of 2024 where they are assessing retroactively for Q4 2023 along with the Q1 point of sale. So you're kind of getting double hit. So it's important to start prepping for that now and putting those funds back so you're not caught off guard and put in a bind because you don't have the funds in your bank account.
Yeah, so I guess if you obviously if they have access to it, they can look at prior year trends or being 2023 trends, and that would be your base point to plan for 2024. So I definitely think that that's probably the big thing to focus on this year.
Yeah, I completely agree there. And the EnlivenHealth system, it has the payment level, like Chelsea mentioned, but we also have year-to-date reporting where you can just see for an entire year kind of where you're at and make those assumptions so you can be prepared for 2024. So anything else to add to this slide, and we'll move on?
I think that's the big one for me.
Yeah.
That was the big one for me too. That's the one thing that just stood out.
Yeah, same here for sure. All right, so our last question for the panel is, how do you keep up with your claims without sacrificing too much of your time?
So yeah, I'll start there again. I don't know how much I can stress this, but making sure that once you enroll that you fill out the information. I know it's going to seem taxing, but fill those paperworks out. Fill that paperwork out, the EFTs, the 835 paperworks. Go on those payers' websites, that don't like to receive that paper request of them. Fill them out. It's going to save you so much time in the long run. I promise you. And then again, just making sure that you stay on top of things from a week-to-week basis or day-to-day basis, depending on how many pharmacies you own. It may just be one pharmacy and you can look at it once a week. But if you're a multi-store owner, you definitely need to look at your stores, look at the aging, verify those deposits, upload any remittances that you may receive to the pharmacy on a regular basis. I actually have it as a task in my calendar regularly, so I don't even forget. Because we all know we don't want our money 9 months down the road. We want it as soon as possible, because those wholesaler bills are not stopping. They're gonna draft. They're gonna get their money. So we need to get our money from the payers.
Yeah, and I think we emphasize regularity. So just doing it regular, when you add up the complete time, will save you so much more time than to try to get caught up later. It'll just it can be overwhelming, is my understanding. And if the regularity, every pharmacy owner has a different, the responsibilities within their organization is set up differently. They are all of them are wearing multiple hats. Some wear more hats than others. So what you have to decide is who on your team can you train sometimes to handle which tasks? So I know, Chelsea, you're handling a big portion of this. Evidently, Bob Lomenick, he decided that, this is something that you were capable of doing and entrusted that with you so he can do other things.
Yes.
So as a pharmacy owner, I'd say just look at the task. If something is taking a lot of time, you're probably not doing it right. So that's the first thing. If it's taking you a ton of time, you're not doing it right. So reach out and get some help. And then from there, to make sure it gets done regularly, you delegate appropriately so someone can handle it regularly. So you might think, well, I can do it. It only takes an hour. But if you can't do it regularly, then just go ahead and get somebody else who can put it as a part of their daily tasks for a few minutes a day.
Yeah, definitely. I think if it takes, an hour a week, but then you don't do it for 4 weeks, now that time is just added up and you're spending more time at once as opposed to focusing on other things within the pharmacy. You make a good point delegating that to others. We work with pharmacy owners. We work with pharmacists, pharmacy technicians, spouses of the pharmacists. You can give access to whoever you trust with, your bank account to verify those deposits and save you time. And then again, leveraging your analyst here at EnlivenHealth to do all of that heavy lifting for you. Once you get past that onboarding phase, let us take that off of your plate so you can just go ahead and verify your deposits and then move forward with your day. So awesome. I think that was a great discussion. Anything else that you have before we move off from the panel?
Can't think of anything.
No, we just other than thank you so much for working with us on a weekly basis too. We really appreciate just having that support and then working as a team. But no, I think we've kind of covered it.
Okay. Yeah. Awesome. Like I said, I really appreciate the relationship that we have with Sykes and Company, and then with Tyson Drug as well. But for more information on the eConsile platform that EnlivenHealth has to offer, we are going to be doing a live demo. I will be hosting that live demo, so it'll be next Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern time. You can click the scrolling link at the bottom for information, or get that information in tomorrow's follow-up email to save your spot for that live demo. If you're ready to schedule a demo now, you can click the Get Demo button at the top. And then just let us know that you'd like a member of our team to contact you with more information about our claims reconciliation software. So if you're interested in either of those things, there's a link at the bottom or the link at the top. So moving on, we will go to questions from our audience. So let me go through here. So the first question is, with Enliven, do you get a report that explains what is outstanding or what is paid? So EnlivenHealth does offer various reportings. Our most popular reporting is our aged receivables, and then our aged receivables month end, which is a static report. So that's going to show what's outstanding and then how old it is. And then we have kind of detailed down into the claim level from there. And then we also have what's been paid and what's been posted. With our full service version, you also will have that analyst reviewing those claims once they've aged out beyond 60 days to tell you, kind of why it's outstanding, or research those with the payers. Next question kind of answered it there, but what is the average amount of days for an outstanding accounts receivable? Our standard is 60 days. So once it's aged out beyond 60 days, that's when we start to research it with the various payers as to why it's still out there. Some payers do pay a lot quicker than that. It could be a 2-week turnaround time, but our standard is 60 days. Next question. So how often do you really find payment mistakes on a claim? I kind of mentioned earlier in the webinar that it's not as common to have, missing money from claims not being paid appropriately. It is common for claims to be underpaid for various reasons. We most often find missing money for checks that have gone missing. So paper checks coming in, You'd be surprised how often they get stuck in a desk or fall, behind the desk and you can't find it and they're not getting cash. So, I've personally worked with stores that have had over $100,000 in missing checks that we were able to leverage the payers and get those reissued to them. I think it's an important call out that it's not just paper checks, because I've also seen issues with EFT payments to where the bank, there was just an error in the system, right? Technology is going to be technology on some days. You can't always trust it. And so the bank stopped all payments coming in via EFT. And we were able to recognize that within, 2 days. Like, hey, these aren't in my account. And then that was, about $20,000. So it does definitely happen. And having reconciliation just is like an insurance policy to ensure that you are getting those funds to your bank account. So next question, how much time will reconciling claims digitally save me versus doing it manually? So I'm going to let Chelsea answer this question, since she is leveraging our digital software for it, and how much time it's saving her.
Yeah. So like I said, I do it on a regular basis so that I'm not overwhelmed. But with 4 pharmacies and, like I said, doing roughly 35,000 scripts a month, it takes me, in the mornings when I'm reconciling the banks, that's to me the quickest and most efficient time to do it. It takes me about maybe 10 minutes to verify my deposits. The majority of my time would be later on spent doing communicating with Cheryl, communicating with the team to track back any type of checks or any type of claims. But even then, it is very minimum amount of time what I spend doing that. It's definitely I would say saves me several hours a week compared to when I was with another reconciliation company.
Awesome. Thank you for that. And then the last question I'm going to direct to you as well. Just how often should you reconcile claims? Weekly, monthly, quarterly? I think we've touched on it, but just to kind of reiterate.
Yeah, I wouldn't go over weekly. I actually dread coming back from vacation sometimes because I know it's going to be overwhelming. Like I said, I do it 2, sometimes maybe 3 times a week. But if you want to stay on top of your money, stay on top of your claims, I would say weekly for sure. Don't go any further than that.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think, you do have multiple locations, so more often is better because there's just a lot more coming in. So that's kind of our rule of thumb as well. At minimum once a week, larger groups, larger just individual pharmacies that have that volume, doing it more regularly will, again, it'll just save you time and make it less overwhelming for you and less stressful to do.
Yes, most definitely.
So, awesome. Well, thank you so much. With that is the last question. So thank you for your time. Thank you, Chelsea. Thank you, Kendell, both for joining us today. Like I said, we are doing the live demo of eConsile next week. So be sure to register for that info session or click the Get Demo link at the top for one of our sales representatives to reach out. But with that, I will conclude this webinar.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.